interrupt the eating part of the great event, but that's all right. You guys just continue to eat. And I do apologize today. I have to run out to another meeting, and I have to get downtown by 5 minutes to 12. But I didn't want to leave without saying hello, welcome. We look forward to many more of these collaborations with SCORE. So you all have a great time. I'm going to leave you all in the capable hands of Eileen and all of the committee there. So whatever you need, just enjoy. If you have any questions and we're not here to answer, give them to Eileen and she will email or call us. Any questions, concerns, or comments?
What's your name?
Phyllis Calloway.
Phyllis, nice to meet you, Phyllis.
Nice to meet you all as
Thank
well.
you.
Are you, actually, yes, Lori and I actually manage the Enterprise Center out here.
Okay.
Yes, we're starting the incubator program, so believe me, this back and forth right now is challenging, but it's awesome. So we don't look at anything as negativity, we turn everything into a positive. Sometimes we see the stress on our face, but it only means we are enjoying what we're doing. All right, but thank you all so much for coming. There's others coming, and just please, on our behalf, please welcome them when they get here.
And please know that please thank Phyllis for the free lunch.
Lori. Yes. I don't know what I would do without that lady back there. Thank you all so much. Enjoy, and I'm out. Enjoy.
All right, for a little while, we're just going to let you folks eat. Okay, and then probably about 5 of 12, we're going to start going around the room and asking you for brief introductions. A brief introduction takes maybe 30 seconds. Okay, just to give you some sense so that we can go ahead with our presentation. Okay, and so just perfect. All right, so SCORE is an organization that's been around since the mid-70s. And we have over 10,000 volunteers in over 300 chapters across the country. We provide free and confidential mentoring, one-on-one or one-on-more. We also co-mentor to bring in other mentors if we need help with stuff that, with your questions and issues. It's free for as long as it has value to you. Okay, that's the important thing, that it's useful to you. In addition to the mentoring, we also offer workshops, which today you're seeing an example of that. And we have a fabulous website, score.org, pretty easy to remember. And that has an incredible number of free webinars, blogs, workshops, articles, links, templates, for almost anything you can imagine related to a small business. You can do a search on things by saying I'm a startup in this industry, and you get a whole list of things. Or I'm in business looking for marketing information or stuff like that, and you get a whole collection of stuff. So please feel free to go onto our website and look at stuff. It's www.score.org. It's a really easy one to remember. In addition, something new has happened for us this past year, and we now have an office here at the Southwest Florida Enterprise Center. And that means we're going to be doing mentoring here as needed, but also schedule it on a weekly basis. So we have someone who's coming the first Friday, third and fourth Fridays of the month, and we've got one other person that we haven't scheduled yet, but we haven't started that sign-up process yet. If you are interested in a SCORE mentor and you would like to be mentored here, when you go to score.org, you can request a mentor. You'll put in your zip code, and you can also ask that you, if that's important to you, if you like meeting here, that you meet with someone here at the Southwest Florida Enterprise Center. If that's not important, and the other thing that's important is indicate as well as you can what you think your current issues are, okay? So that allows us to do a better job of helping you. Okay, so although I see you've been doing some pretty strong networking already, I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about your business so that anybody who hasn't heard it will have a chance to. And since I know you're one of our outgoing attendees, I'm going to ask you to get started and lead the group with a short, no more than 30-second description of how fabulous you are.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Janelle Miley. I'm the CEO of Global Strategies, your virtual bookkeeping firm.
Wow, record, a new record. Okay, Ross?
My name is Ross Wilson. I'm starting a new business. I'm not open yet. So I'm working through some of the challenges of getting financing.
What kind of business is going to be, Ross?
An arcade for esports, specifically racing.
Oh, okay,
Racing simulation.
okay.
Racing simulators.
All right, well, you may be someone who would like to meet with some SCORE mentor sometime.
I have a score mentor.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right,
I'm working with one.
great. Kelly?
Yep, my name is Kelly. I'm recently out of corporate offices because I wanted freedom of schedule and just to be able to help a variety of people. So I do some bookkeeping with small business owners so that they can get back to doing what they do best. I do education and personal finances and some office and administrative beginning systems and processes.
Great, welcome. Thanks for coming. Yes.
Good morning, my name is Joanne Thomas Joseph. I'm basically a government contractor with level 2 background screening. So anyone that have an interest in, not have an interest, that's mandated to get level 2 background screening, that's what I do. I'm in transition, waiting to be located at this Enterprise Center. So by January, hopefully I'll be fully in business.
All right, Nell?
My name is Arnold Gordon. I'm from Gordon Tax Solution, and basically I do tax return in any phases that you would like with internal revenue.
All right.
You
Is
should
it,
talk to the lady right in front of you.
and it's Jose, right?
Hello, my name is Jose Yara. I am with Yara and Wagner Design Studio. This company, we are kitchen and bathroom designers. We are cabinet dealers. But the reason why I'm here at SCORE is because I am starting a new business, fabricating my own lines of products, artistic tables and artistic furniture. So I need a little input from the business point of view.
Now, Jose, do you already have a SCORE mentor?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, you might want to think about that. Okay,
Right, thank you.
all right. And I'm going to let you go next. Okay.
So I don't have a name.
I was going to say you don't have a name.
Yeah, I had to realize. My name is Mike Gaber. I'm a general contractor here locally. I've been in Lee County 22 years, and just recently landed a fairly large project that's allowed me to go out on my own. So now I need some more of that business information.
Perfect,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, good day. I'm Brad Evans, Rover RF, and I specialize in building public safety, radio communications. So I work with the firemen, police, EMT. So your building needs to be tested, and if so, an amplification system will need to be put in so they can communicate. Been in business since June, fully licensed. Been in the industry for almost 20-some years in telecommunications and radio communications. And thank you for inviting me. I have used the mentor before.
Good.
So I'm also a fire marshal instructor, trainer. So I teach the firemen and all that about radio communication safety. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Robert, would you like to introduce yourself?
Robert Brown. I've been a SCORE mentor for about 5 years now, and my background is in automotive, and I was a professional sales trainer, and I was sent in by General Motors to turn automobile dealerships around. I was having financial and sales background.
Nancy?
Good morning, I'm Nancy Corpenny, and I am one of the SCORE volunteers. I'm not yet retired, but I really have a passion for helping business owners. And so we're really delighted to see all of you here today, and I look forward to hearing more about what kinds of workshops and conversations you might find most helpful.
And our chapter chair, am I allowed to tell him that? Good to know that, is Ben Simmons.
Hi, I'm Ben Simmons. I was formerly with Deloitte & Touche, a partner with Deloitte & Touche, which is one of the world's largest accounting, auditing, tax, and consulting services.
And our speaker today, Willis Wolf.
Willis Wolf, you're going to see a little bit about my background, so we'll go into it and do the presentation. But welcome, appreciate you all coming in.
All right, I'm Eileen Buchanan. I've been with SCORE for 16 years in January, and I live here in the Fort Myers area. And I'm one of the people that's going to be doing a once-a-month mentoring session here, and I also do other mentoring. So I had a training company that was software training, adult software training. So, and I have a variety of other interests. So each of these volunteers are people that can help you, and we have about 40 volunteers in our chapter. So you'll be able to find someone I think that will be a good fit for your business if that works out. I can't believe you all followed your rules. That's great. You did, I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm Delbert Ziegler, and I have the Easy Business Network, which is a web design. We do websites for small business, and we do e-commerce stores also for small business. That's what we cater to, the small businesses, micro enterprise, and individuals. And my saying is, you don't have to convince a business that they need a website. You need to convince them they can afford it. And we do affordable websites. Thank you.
Okay. I like that.
All right, now, as you've observed, he is doing a video of this. If there's anybody who is uncomfortable with that, please get with him. And anything that, if you've been on it,
And we'll cut you out.
you'll be cut out. Okay? Now, why don't you tell them what you're going to do with this video?
What I'm going to do with the video, I give you my business card there, and I'm going to put it on my website. And you go there, you see other events I've covered there, and this will be at the top in the navigation bar when you go to look at it. Probably be up by Friday, Saturday it'll be up, and it'll be up there for you to use, take down if you like what's there. It's I'm open source. You'll be able to grab it and use it if you like it for yourself.
So if anyone's uncomfortable with that, please let me know before the end of the session.
And it's not going on like say Facebook or anything like that. It'll be on the private my website. I don't disperse it all over the world like that.
If you're real uncomfortable, you put a mask on.
So who is that masked man?
Can you do masks? Can you add masks to people's faces?
Yeah, blank them out, right? Just here.
All right, so I'm going to do a very brief introduction of Willis because he has some comments that he has on his presentation. Willis has been a SCORE volunteer for how many years?
Started 2010.
A long time.
Yeah.
He was very young when he started. And
Yeah.
we all were, by the way. And he comes from Austin, and he's been doing a lot of, Austin, Texas, he's been doing a lot of presentations down there. And he's moved up to this area, so he is now a member of the Southwest Florida SCORE chapter. So, turn it over to Willis.
All right, well, thank you very much. I also might mention my father also was in SCORE starting in late 70s, so familiar with it for an extended period of time. And what we're going to talk about today is the good, the bad, and the ugly of doing it yourself. And we're going to talk about the bad, some things you can do to try to work through that, and then the ugly, which y'all have been through that for the last 2 years, so.
Sure.
All right, so managing small business successfully. All right, so say we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Anybody know where I got this from?
Clint Eastwood?
The what?
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood, it was a 1967 movie called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Still a good Western.
And my kids, I use this term quite a bit, talking about business, but also about life and what have you. And, enjoy the good, try to deal with the bad, and the ugly, you just try to survive. So this is my background, over 50 years being a business owner. First business I got involved with 1970 with a physician. We did medical office hardware and software. We put together total computer systems, hardware and software, in 1970. Now, in 1970, that system ran somewhere between $125,000 and $150,000. It was, the computer itself was 72 inches high and 38 inches wide. And we put line printers and terminals on it. And if you know anything about computing, we wrote in what was called assembly language in those days. That's the very basic working with bits. We wrote our own operating system, all of our own hardware handlers. I mean, if you talk about getting into hardware, and then we wrote the software for medical practices, installed it. I did that for 25 years and sold out to my partner in 1995. So we'll talk about some of the bad and ugly associated with that business. Then got into, I also had a medical billing service for a while. I worked with a guy selling business forms. Most of my businesses are business to business. Business forms, though, is actually business to consumers. I had another business involved in job candidate databases that we sold it. People that bought it just basically messed it up, and we restarted it. Also had a medical transcription business. We had 40 transcriptionists. We were doing emergency rooms up in northern Ohio, Akron, Cleveland. We did the Cleveland Clinic. And because we were doing emergency rooms, we were running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can imagine the challenges of trying to run a business like that. Then that job candidate database, when we restarted it, we got involved with just the MBA side of it, hiring databases, and we built computer databases we had Harvard, Stanford, MIT, all the major MBA schools, and marketed it to businesses. And then the last one, I got into Medicaid billing. So I was in the process of moving from actually Columbus, Ohio to Austin, Texas. I was helping someone get into it and found out they couldn't run a business. And next thing I know, I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm involved with, I'm running a business in Columbus, Ohio. So as you can see, I've had quite a bit of background, and like I say, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. One of the things I did want to mention is that the good, the bad, and the ugly, to some extent, depends on what industry you're in. The first one I was in for 25 years. The transcription I was in 4 years. It was a mess. We got it turned around and sold it. The advantage of that business is that you can go through recessions, almost depressions, and there's money there. You're dealing with physicians. Everybody obviously has to see a physician. So certain businesses, as I say, and actually sometimes for a lot of businesses, what's been the ugly the last 2 years, I mean, there's pharmaceutical companies, there are people that have changed their business up and been fairly successful over the last 2 years. So we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it is somewhat depending on what industry you're in. Always like to talk about the good. I mean, obviously, freedom to make your own decisions. Good, bad, or no decision. You have the self-satisfaction of growing a business. You can help employees grow, expand their capabilities. You do have unlimited earning capabilities, so that's also gives you some real incentive. Opportunities to help the local community. You basically are furnishing goods, services that others need, want. In order for your business to be successful, you've got to do that. Determine your own lifestyle. So I mean, you can determine your vacations. You can determine things that you want to do. So I mean, you basically are involved. And basically, you only answer to your banker, the IRS, and your spouse or significant other. So those are the people that you really have to worry about. The bad are things that you do have some control over. Now, we talked about unlimited earning potential, but also you have personal financial risk because in almost all cases, you're going to have to guarantee any debt that you're going to take on. Employee challenges. And I can tell you so many stories dealing with employees that absolutely make no sense at all. and employees are a challenge. And it's amazing what some people will do. You have to be familiar with the federal, state, local tax laws, stay current with them. That's the kind of thing that where you do need probably outside help, and you know, we've got some people here that can help you in that direction. But if you've got your own business, I know in most cases you're trying not to spend any more money than you have to, but in order to run it like a business, you've got to spend money. You just need to do it wisely and get a good return on it. Run into new competition. If you're very successful, I guarantee you're going to have competition. You just need to know who they are, what they're doing. If you can, say competition changes also. My suggestion always is know your competition almost as well as you know your own business. And you can learn from them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with copying what other people are doing. There's almost nothing ever is done for the first time. So if you see something that works, I'd suggest you do it. So there's no problem. Competition also, one of the reason why you should know competition is if you ever want to expand your business, one of the best and easiest ways to do it is to buy out a competitor or merge with a competitor. Because they've already in that industry with you, they've already got contacts, they've already got people. The other thing is, you ever want to sell your business, and I've done it several times where I've sold out to competitors, and the competitor will actually pay you more for your business than probably anybody else. So, I mean, there are some real good reasons to know your competition, have some kind of a reasonable relationship with them. So there are some real advantages in that area. Now, client time, paychecks.
Right.
So, you know, now the thing that some of them don't really think about is if you're only doing it twice a month, each of those payrolls are bigger. I mean, so they get more money each month. But, yeah, employees like.
Yeah. There's the bi-weekly payroll and the twice a payroll, 2 payrolls a month is called a semi-monthly payroll. But I just wanted to mention something that you had, if you don't mind.
Yeah, oh yeah. No,
that you were talking about client challenges. I always tell my team, not every dollar is a good dollar. And when I first started, we took everybody, and some of them were horrendous. It took me a long time to learn that, you know, not every client is a good client. And some of them you have to walk away from, even though it may be a lot of money. And then some of them you just can't take. You know, you
yeah,
just
no matter
gotta
what
fire
you
them.
do, some people are unhappy, and they will complain to you, they'll complain to everybody else, and you'll never make them happy.
Right.
So the best thing for you to do is to let them go somewhere else and let them deal with somebody else. Absolutely.
The 80-20 rule.
Ugly. Now this is where you have little or no control, and as they say, the last 2 years we've had an outstanding example of the ugly. New major legal requirements. I mean, the government's always coming up with new challenges, new things.
Can I say something about that?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
One of those you may not be aware of, or most of you may be aware of, is the minimum pay. That's going up every year in September by $1 an hour. So if you have employees, until it gets to $15 an hour every September, it's going to add $1 more to the minimum wage for the state of Florida. That was passed a year ago.
And that's effective now.
Yeah, it started last September was the first time, and it went up to, did it go up to $9? I think it went up to $9 an hour in September. Last September, so next September it's 10, and then 11, then 12.
And this is mandate for all business.
Yes. It's minimum
In
wage, new
Florida.
minimum wage requirements.
Yeah.
In Florida.
In Florida, so Florida, it was voted in Florida, yes.
Yeah, I'd encourage you, if you all have any comments as we go through this, please do that. We've got a small group, so there's no reason not to. Economic upheavals, recession. I mean, the 2008 financial crisis. I mean, I can tell you all kinds of stories about that. Anybody have a business go through that 2008? I mean, it was. I had a business sold. We basically had it. We'd all agreed on a price, had it all ready to go. We were doing the final financial reviews, and the market crashed in October. This was the MBA program, and all of a sudden, our major business was with financial houses in Wall Street. They were hiring MBAs, and all of a sudden, overnight, that business just stopped. So they backed out. They wanted to steal us. We wouldn't let them steal us. Our bank said that we had a line of credit, and I'm going to talk about lines of credit in a minute, but they wouldn't let us use any more than a line of credit for our next payroll, so we had to come up with personal cash. 3 of us owned the business. We had to come up with personal cash to make the next payroll. And the bank also told us they didn't want our business anymore. We've been with them for 9 years, and they said they wanted to call all the notes, and we had to go out and find another bank to work with. And we found another bank to work with, but we had to put up securities or cash equal to 3 times the debt that they were taking. And we had to put it into a special account that we couldn't touch without their approval until things kind of turned around and credit came around. So I mean, I'm very familiar. And then the last 2 years, I sold my last business in 2017, and I got to tell you, I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with the last 2 years. Unexpected cash flow problems. If you do your planning, and we're going to talk about planning, you can minimize those to a certain extent. But you may have a major client that all of a sudden is merging, going out of business, changing for some reason or other. You lose them, you're going to have a major cash flow problem. So you better be prepared for it. That's where planning comes in. Legal problems, you end up being sued. I've been sued 3 or 4 times. It's a very unpleasant, expensive experience. I never lost a deal, but I spent a lot of money. And in most cases, you negotiate it, but legal problems, and they can come out of left field totally surprised.
And a legal situation, because I've been advising most of my clients that they should try at least get a liability insurance just to offset anything will come up in their business, because folks are always trying to get reach out.
But even when you've got liability insurance, you still end up with, in a lot of cases, having to pay attorneys. I mean, that's in today's legal system, anybody can sue anybody for anything. And I can give you examples of things that made absolutely no sense, but it happens. Legal problems. Payroll problems, problem with the payroll company. I had a payroll for the medical transcription company, and what's interesting about the transcription business is that the employees were paid per line that was typed. Same way we billed our clients, the hospitals and emergency rooms, based on lines typed. So we're using a payroll company. They would enter the lines typed. They were supposed to multiply it by 10 cents, but I got to report 1 payroll period before they turned it over to draw the money out of the bank, where the girl had screwed up and keyed in $1. So instead of a payroll being 10 to 15,000, it showed the payroll being 100 to 150,000. So that got my attention. Yeah. And then right after that, we changed payroll companies and we did all our own data entry. So you learn. Major employee problems, again, kinds of things that come up there, major client problems. Competition changes. I mean, you got a good business going, and somebody like Walmart or Home Depot or somebody comes into your area, and truth matters, the more successful you are, the more likely you're going to have competition. So that can get very ugly. And then surprise problems of all types, weather, economic. I know businesses got involved with floods, the business climate, recession. I still talk about the 2008 financial crisis, which was really bad. And then, of course, the last 2 years, are very familiar with. I mean, they're called ugly because you have very little control over them. So what I say is, with the good, you enjoy it, appreciate it, because at some point it's going to change.
beginning of 2008, when the financial crisis hit, American Express came to me and said, we're going to give you unlimited credit this year, no interest for the entire year. I should have known there was something was going to happen. Come October of that year, they said, oh, well, we're not going to give you any more credit. We would also like you to pay back everything that you borrowed for this year. We'll even give you a discount if you'll do that. I didn't do that, but anyway. So those are the kinds of things that can really get to you. So the question is, suggestions to promote the good, try to minimize the bad and ugly. And the first two things up there are the two things that I think are most critical. One, have a business plan. It can be a very simple business plan, something that you probably should update every 6 months to a year. It can be very simple if you're just doing it for yourself and your management. It can be 1 or 2 pages, basically what you're trying to do, how you're going to do it over the next year, any changes that you're making from the last year. But that can be very simple. If you're actually going out to raise money, or if you've got stockholders, you're going to have to get into more detail. So a business plan can be either simple or complex. The thing with business plans too is that a lot of them are available online. SCORE has sample business plans online. You can go out, the library has extensive information online. It's amazing. If you haven't spent any time in a public library, I suggest you do so. The amount of demographic and detailed information that is available publicly is unbelievable. It's almost scary if you really know what is sitting out there. In the public library, they've got research people that can help you do it. So, almost any kind of demographic information, salary information by zip code, by areas of a city, by county. The amount of information is mind-boggling. And the public library is one of the best places to find it.
And the librarians are an underutilized
Oh, they absolutely
resource.
are.
They are amazing. They are really amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to embarrass anybody, but just by a show of hands, how many people here have a written, not in your head, written down business plan currently in existence?
That's good.
That's really good.
I've updated it a while ago, but I haven't.
Okay, now the next thing I'm going to ask you, how many of you do cash forecasts and budgets that you monitor monthly and then you update them from budget to actual and see what's going on? I'll tell you, the second one is the one that allowed me to sleep at night, because the medical transcription business, they say I bought into it. They had 2 guys that were given the business by the law firm that originally started it, and I came in and was talking to him. A business broker told me about it because I had sold the business before. I was looking around, and I came in and was talking to him and asked him, what they were doing, and I asked him, how much cash do you have? And the guy said, well, just a minute, let me see. So he picked up the phone, dialed the bank, listened to what checks had cleared, which checks he, looked at the checkbook, hadn't cleared. He said, well, that's how much money I got in the bank. It was, but they were dealing with the Cleveland Clinic. They had several big emergency rooms. They have really good cash flow.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that they didn't do, and one of the reasons I ended up buying into that business, getting a controlling interest by guaranteeing $80,000 worth of bank debt, and they were doing almost $2 million a year, because they weren't paying their FICA. And if you don't pay your FICA, FICA is considered stealing by the federal government. They will put you in jail. You cannot go through bankruptcy or anything else. It is considered stealing. And they'd already received 2 notices, and I explained to them that if they got a 3rd notice, they would be coming to shut the doors down, and they would be going somewhere they didn't want to go to. So then I guaranteed $80,000 in debt, got controlling interest. And then, of course, the company paid the $80,000 back. I didn't. So there's opportunities like that. So, all the time you're out doing business, what have you, just kind of talk to people, have see what's going on, and you may be amazed at what kinds of deals are available that you can put together, expand your own business or get into a different business. All right, cash flow forecast budgets. I always say you probably should have three. An optimistic one, which you show investors or anybody else that you're talking to. You have a pessimistic one that basically tells you if things go to hell, how long you probably can survive. And then a probable one that you think is going to be realistic. And if you do that, and you've got all of a sudden you have a major customer that comes and says they're going to be leaving you at the first of the year, you can see what it's going to do to your cash flow. And I had that happen with the last business. I had a billing company, and we had one of our major clients that was going to leave us. I don't remember, they were merging or doing something. And so we put together a plan. We had to let 3 employees go. That's upsetting, but because we had a plan, we knew we had to do that, because if we didn't do it, at some point, there was going to be a major cash flow problem. The other question was, this came up this time of year, so the question was, do we tell the employees before the Christmas holidays or after the holidays? What do you think? What would you do in that?
After.
What would you do in that?
After.
Okay, the problem with doing it after is they've already spent money over the Christmas holidays thinking they've got a job. So, those are the kinds of decisions that can keep you up at night.
And now they can't sleep at night and have a good time. They last good time.
That was very difficult. I decided we needed to tell them before. We gave them reasonable, at least what we thought was reasonable monies, because we were letting them go. The other thing that's interesting is that a lot of times when you get into that kind of thing, as long as you're not unionized or anything else, you let people go that you probably should have gotten rid of before. And I can't tell you, almost every time that I've had to do that, after it was done, I thought, boy, I should have done this 6 or 12 months ago, but gave you an excuse to do it.
So the question is, you knew that the big client was leaving you.
Well, we knew, they gave us, our contract said they had to give us 90 days notice.
90 days. And then you have to come out immediately with a plan for the cash flow.
Right.
You have to come with that. So you knew about 1 or 2 months before
Yeah, well,
the
that's why,
holidays.
but then we had time to plan for it.
Then you give you time to tell the client, not just the employee, not just on top of the holidays, like
Right.
maybe a month and a half before the holidays. That the blow is a little softer there.
They went?
The blow is a little softer a month and a half before holidays.
Right.
You gave them a cushion too. That was the other good thing. Threw them a money cushion to land on.
Question, while on cash flow fees, I use Lifeplan for my business plan, for my optimistic and probable. I do not have a pessimistic plan. Do you know anything about that, and what do you recommend? And question 2 would be, is it best to use contractors rather than employees for your business?
Well, and I actually, in another slide, I get into the importance of contract employees. The key with contract employees, they have to know their contract employees, they need to sign a document with contract employees, and then you have to treat them like contract employees. The way and you can go online and look at the federal regs on what a contract employee is, and the biggest problem that a lot of people don't do is they treat contract employees like a regular employee. And that can get you into all kinds of problems because, and this happened several years ago, I wasn't involved, but for a while people were using contract employees a lot. The IRS got wind of it, and they started going back. And of course, they had employees that were bringing up the fact that, you know, they were being treated like employees rather than contract employees. What the IRS does if they do that, if they decide that those employees were, or you had them as contract employees, which means you weren't paying any taxes, you weren't paying any FICA, you know, they were responsible for everything. If they decided that you really were treating them as employees, they could go back and force you, they would bill you for all the FICA charges plus penalties. The employees would probably also sue you. So it's one thing. I mean, it's good to have contract employees depending on your business. You just need to be sure you do it legally, properly, and in a lot of cases you probably ought to have legal counsel just to be sure that what they sign should cover you. And then you need to understand that there are certain things that you can't force them to come to work at a certain time, leave at a certain time. You can give them projects. I mean, you can kind of work what you want done. You just need to realize what the risks are.
Okay, understanding the risk, and when a contracted employee is a contracted employee, they're totally independent as a entrepreneur itself.
Yeah.
Not a staff member, so I can't tell them what to do.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's the key to it.
Understanding that fact, for a cash operating business, I guess what I was trying to ask is, based on your expertise, would it be recommended for a cash-only business?
A cash-only business?
Right, a cash business to just hire contractors and let them be self-employed?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, just as long as you understand the proper way to do it. No, it's a great way to go. I mean, I recommend it. I mean,
You need to remember, just because
suggestions also, we got SCORE, we got other businesses that you can consult with. I always tell you, you know, I feel you need to expect the best but plan for the worst. I mean, you do have some rainy day funds, particularly if you're in kind of an industry that's cyclical, where maybe the holiday season you make 60% of your money. Well, when you make that 60%, you better be sure you've done the forecast and the budgeting so you can survive the rest of the year. So I say, you know, being an entrepreneur in your own business, you really need to be optimistic. I had a brother that got into his own business, and all he could see were the problems coming up. I mean, so he couldn't sleep at night. I mean, he was having all kinds of problems. He had to actually go work for somebody else because he couldn't deal with the problems. He even worried about problems he didn't have, but that might come up. So, you know.
He's thinking too much.
Yeah. We talked about your competition, you know, knowing your competition. As I say, if you ever want to sell your business, they're the best people to sell it to. You need to know and understand the keys to your business. If it's cyclical, you need to understand that. You need to have some idea of when the monies are coming in so you can cover them. You always try to hire good people, but in a lot of cases, some cases you decide to go with a cheaper person just because they're cheaper, but good people are worth their weight in gold. I tell you, it's really hard to find good people. I mean, my experience is often you go through 2 or 3 before you get to one, sometimes 4 before you get to someone that you really are happy with. Then you got to treat them right so they'll stay. And use strong vendors that are going to be around and not trying to cut corners. And I also suggest you run it as a business, not as a hobby, because some people run even some pretty good sized businesses as a hobby and they don't plan, they don't organize, and they usually don't survive. More suggestions. If you do have a crisis, I suggest you develop a crisis plan, a written crisis plan. It's usually a 60, 90.
Willis, one second. For those of you that are taking pictures, we will provide a copy of the presentation material to everybody who attended. Okay, you'll get an email with it, okay, just so you know.
So if you do get in one of these crisis situations, you put together a true crisis plan. Let's say maybe 6 months. You may and probably should explain it to your employees what you're doing. If you're letting employees go, you know, explain why. a lot of times you let the poorest employees go, the other employees know it. In some cases, they wonder why you kept them as long as you did, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. And a written crisis plan, you work it, you hope that, you know, you can survive with the ugly, you hope you survive long enough, keep the business going, so when things turn around, you can proceed on. You do need good tax, legal, financial support. I suggest you don't hire the cheapest you can find. Ideally, you find someone that's got experience in your industry.
Right here.
And there are people, I mean, hiring an attorney or
One of the things I recommend to my clients for legal services, because most business owners don't have a business attorney, and they certainly don't have them review all the contracts that we have to sign as business owners. There are services that are membership services where you pay a set amount every month, and it's like $35 for a business. And you have an attorney on call, and you can talk to them on the phone for as long as you want. That is worth its weight in gold for 80 or 90% of the things that you're dealing with. And that way you'll use them more frequently and really get somebody who is your advocate to review. Literally every contract that you receive is written in the other guy's point of view.
yes,
And so that's a really good way of going with that.
yeah, I didn't have that available.
No.
Basically, all my contracts I paid to have it reviewed. and
That
then
was
come
one
back.
of the first things that when I heard about it, I went, I'm
Yeah,
there.
that's very good.
Just as a parenthesis about the legal assistance, this is very good information. What about non-competing agreements?
Yep.
Yeah, they're non-compete agreements, absolutely not. In California, you can't have them. You cannot have them in California. Some states, if you have non-competes, they need to be approved legally, because states are different. I have been sued because of non-compete agreements, so I'm very familiar with them.
What happened here in Florida then?
Pardon?
Florida.
The employee has them, but if you hire the employee,
Well, again,
you're responsible.
You hire another company to do the work, not as the person, but as the company, as an entity, but you want them to be, not to steal your design, if you will.
Yeah.
You want them to complete, is that okay?
Got out of control.
Get an NDA.
Subway make a
Some
non-compete
cases,
agreement with
it's
Jason
really-
Sandwich.
It's really totally,
Yeah.
I mean, that's where, I say,
That's where having an attorney on the other side of the phone, pick up the phone and say, I have this question.
Good
How
service,
does that,
good
how
service.
does that work in Florida?
and even if you do all that, anybody can sue anybody for anything. I mean, it is absolutely
Our litigious society.
unbelievable. And, you know, I got attorney friends and I've spent a lot of money with attorneys. And, you know, the attorneys get together and they talk and they do various things and you may or may not be with them. Then they send you a bill and you have not real sure, you know, where all those hours went. And then they also they can have paralegals do stuff or they can do stuff and there's a big dollar difference between paralegal and legal. I mean, I always treated my attorneys like I treated my doctor. I mean, I tried to treat them very well. I paid them. I had conversations with them. I had, you know, some attorneys I had for 10 or 15 years, and they were involved with multiple businesses. Actually, I took one time I got sued and we got through it and all over. I took the 3 attorneys plus their wives out to a very nice dinner, which they couldn't believe I was doing that. But I know that they determine what the bills are gonna be. So my experience is if you treat people right, they'll treat you right. So anyway.
Who determines the bill, the wives?
Pardon?
The wives determine the bill?
Willis,
Please
you have a
verify
question?
what's a non-compete agreement.
Pardon?
Please verify what's a non-compete agreement.
What is a
A
non-compete?
non-compete agreement or something you mentioned, what is that?
A non-compete agreement basically says an employee agrees that They will not compete with you. They will not take
Oh,
any
okay.
information. They will not take customer lists, but there's all kinds of different ways that, if they're working for a competitor, as I say, I've been sued several times for it, and
Will, you have a question over here?
Well, it's more of a comment to you. You can have those agreements with people, but then you have to enforce them, and that can be very expensive, and it might not be, it's more of.
Technically, like,
Well, yeah, because you could have the agreement, but then you have to pay a lawyer to enforce them, and it could turn into a long.
An employer may not employ you if you have one also.
Never actually benefit from, so it's probably better to structure the way that you do business in a way that you protect what you want to protect, and I understand the design. It'd be kind of hard to do, but maybe the process of how you designed it or manufactured it.
better to apply for patent.
but non-competes
But again, you still would need to enforce it.
in most states
It's
are,
up to you to enforce it, so depending on how much it costs to enforce, is it, a patent is, design patent maybe, but yeah, it would probably be the way that you do your business and how you interact with that contractor might be a better way to protect yourself than non-compete.
one of the things I did, and what often comes up, if you've got employees, especially if you've got 5, 6, 8, 10 employees, you should have an employee manual that basically outlines all the rules of the business, vacation, sick leave. I actually even had one of them had a non-compete agreement because it was part of the manual that they signed off that they got it. Now, my own personal experience with non-competes, I never sued anybody for a non-compete. If someone went and did something I didn't think was right, I actually contacted them and had a little discussion as to, what they should and shouldn't do, and same with their employee. If someone had an opportunity they thought was good, that was fine with me, but, I didn't want them taking customer lists, didn't want them taking clients. As long as they didn't do that, I really didn't care. All right, in business, I do suggest you have a mix of young and mature employees. The first business I had, I did it for 25 years, and I have to admit, after about 20 years, we had the basic same crew. I mean, we kept people, and they were really good people. But then we kind of, after you've been doing something for an extended period of time, you get into a certain rut, and you don't try new things. And found out the last few years we started hiring young people again. They were bringing in all kinds of different ideas, different approaches, what have you. So you get into larger groups, I suggest you have a mix of mature and young employees. Business needs to grow and change to survive. My computer business started in 1970. You can imagine when I sold out in 95, totally different business. We moved from one set of software, assembly language software, to IBM equipment. We had, when we were doing the selling the hardware itself, we were putting different manufacturers together. We had our own maintenance organization. We had 13 people spread around the country maintaining our systems. It got to a point of being extremely expensive, so then we ended up rewriting all our software, which was a major project, to run on IBM equipment. Then we got out of the hardware maintenance business. IBM maintained it, and that was one headache that was gone. And then then we started, when I left, we were starting to get into PCs and various things like that. I also suggest you have price increases. I found a lot of small businesses, they don't increase prices like they should. They usually start off too cheap to begin with because they're so excited that somebody's paying them money. But they need to at least charge what the competition is doing. And then I say, if possible, you compete on service, not price. My whole deal was, I want a service better than any other company in that industry, but I also want to be the highest, if not the highest, I want to be on the higher end of what people paid for. And good businesses will pay for good service. So competing on price, which if you're doing internet pricing, what have you, you end up, but it's kind of a dog eat dog kind of a thing. So two things. One, do have price increases. I suggest you have small ones periodically so you don't have to jump 10, 15% at the end of 2 or 3 years, because that really grabs people. You do 1, 2, 3% every 6 months, once a year, keep it at the inflation rate, you got a good excuse to do so. It works a lot better than big jumps. You say compete on service, not price. If you have partners, and most of my businesses I had partners, if possible, you try to have partners with similar goals. At first business for 25 years after we got rid of the doctor that was the president, 3 of us basically owned it, and we were all about the same age. We had kids that were about the same age. At one point, we were all putting kids through college, so we all kind of moving the same direction. If you get into a partner, one that's looking to retire and another one that's young, you can sometimes run into conflicts, or just you got similar goals, it makes it easy. And then everybody know what OPM is?
Yeah.
Other people's money. I will tell you, one of the mistakes I made early was, in a lot of cases, my partners financed it ourselves with guaranteed bank debt. But today there are all kinds of opportunities with angel investors. Sometimes you can find, depending on what industry you're in, a client that really loves you, loves your business, what have you, and you want to expand on to do things. You might be able to give them some ownership. And if you get into ownership, 2 things you can do. One, you can just give them a percentage of the business, 2%, 5%. You want to keep controlling interest, 2%, 5%, 6%. And they basically put the money in. The other way to do it is you can give a smaller percentage, but then they give it to you as a loan at a low interest rate, and the company pays it back over a period of time. So there's a couple of different ways in which you can use other people's money to try to expand and grow your business. And if you're going to expand and grow it, you're going to need some kind of funding. Additional thoughts and suggestions: cash is the key in a small business. So one of the big things you want to do is you want to obtain a line of credit. Basically, you go with the bank. The bank, you set up a line of credit, maybe equal to a payroll, 2 payrolls. You have a contract with the bank that basically, if you need some cash in a hurry, now you can do it online and just move money from your line of credit into your checking account. But you want to do it before you have problems. You want to do it when things are looking good. If you go to a bank when you got a problem, banks don't like to lend money to people that need money. They want to lend money to people that don't need it. So you want to go to a bank when you don't need money. Statement terms pretty standard nowadays. People do on receipt. When I got into business, a lot of cases people were doing 30 days. My accountant still does 30 days. I've told him he's crazy. He really should change his statements to do up on receipt. Bill on a timely basis. It's amazed me that some people don't bill when they should. Our medical transcription business, when I first got involved with those guys, they were billing once a month, and a Cleveland clinic was getting like a $25,000 charge once a month. And looking at cash flow, because I handle all the books and everything. That's the other thing. He who writes the checks controls the business. So I always wrote checks once I learned that lesson. I said, well, let's bill them twice a month instead of once a month. And the sales guy said, oh, Cleveland Clinic will hate that. They don't like it at all. I said, well, I don't care. We'll tell them we're going to bill them twice a month. When he told me, he came back and said, they really didn't like that because the bill was smaller and they didn't have to go as far up the executive plane to get it approved. Then we got involved with a medical transcription industry association, which we joined. We had to pay for it. And I attended one of their meetings, and they had people that were billing weekly. So, there are all kinds of techniques you can use to try to improve cash flow. Diligent follow-up on accounts receivable. It's amazing to me how, large invoices especially. I mean, some people say, well, I'm just too busy. Well, let me tell you, you'll busy yourself out of business. Particularly large invoices should be handled aggressively. And if you've got a client that doesn't pay, at some point, you really need to. We had the computer business. We ended up setting up for a monthly service fee, which in those days, nobody ever did. They bought a piece of equipment, hardware, software, and you just serviced it, they thought, forever. Well, we found out we couldn't do that, so we started to go to a monthly service fee, and we lost some clients, but we had good ongoing cash flow. And then one of the things we did is we also stuck in their software a little timer in there. And we didn't get paid on time. Their software had a problem. So anyway, there's things you can do with that. Budget, forecast cash flows of a problem development plan. We talked about the contract employee. You can see I already was going to talk about contract employees and the proper thing of doing it. Talked about FICA. You really want to pay FICA. And then, one of the questions I ask y'all, are there some additional things that you want to suggest to the group that you've done that you think?
One of the things that I think we didn't touch on was the social media aspect.
Oh, yeah, see, now that's beyond,
Right.
I didn't have to get into social media, I have to admit, so that's the big
huge.
thing today,
Yes.
websites and social media.
Your social media it can work for you and it can work against you. Especially when we were talking about the employees, terminating employees, around Christmas time especially, you can guarantee there's going to be a post on your Google business page that's negative about your business. And when that happens, for us, we've experienced that many times. We have someone on board who manages our social media 100% of their time. So when we see something like that, we immediately respond back on the Google business page. We encourage all of our current clients, colleagues, then to write something on Google business page. Write a favorable comment so it pushes it down to the bottom. You don't want the worst thing about your business at the top.
So you better set up a Google alert for your business.
Exactly. Every time
Do it
someone
now.
posts to your page, you get an alert.
Yep.
And gives you the option of responding.
The board has a fiduciary responsibility. A advisory committee is just advising, and I basically had a financial guy, major client, some people, and I paid them $500, took them to a very nice restaurant, and then I had a couple of my key managers and employees make presentations to them as to what they were doing, why they were doing it, and try to get some outside feedback on it. So as a way to get that's really pretty high-powered people that I got for a minimum amount of dollars. And now SCORE also here has what they call a business advisory organization.
There's something
We've got
called
some
physical,
brochures on it.
which is a
this
physical
something
for your
new.
business.
So, that can be a very good thing to do. I also suggest meet with similar non-competing businesses that may be similar to yours, or find some businesses outside of your area that do exactly what you do and try to develop a relationship. And, if you like to ski or do various things, try to find some businesses up in the mountains that you go visit and, some IRS, you can kind of cover some of those expenses. So anyway, find other businesses, and you may have to go through a few, and you may get a bunch of no's. All you need is one or two yeses, and you can develop a very good relationship. They may be able to help you with some financing, or maybe, y'all want to do some things together and start a similar business in a different area. So, again, all kinds of opportunities there. Industry forums, organizations, federal, state, and local government organizations. So you've got a lot of places you can get business help, and I encourage you to use it.
Okay. Any comments, questions?
Two things real quick. You touched on going to a competitor.
Pardon?
Buying out a competitor,
Right.
competitor buying you out, which I agree. An interesting statistic we just stumbled across down there, we put up a department of people like Jeff Frankenhauser. We went to all the CPAs in the entire area down there and saying, who's most likely to sell their business? Because they're the ones that know. 60% of all businesses in the United States are, the owners are over 60 years of age.
They what?
They're over 60 years.
Oh, yeah, okay, so yeah, somebody was
So there's a tremendous amount of people that's going like, they don't have heir apparents, they don't have child or daughter, and the business is up for sale. The other thing is that we are losing 2,400 World War II vets a week. And it's the biggest transfer of wealth that's taking place in the United States right now. What does that got to do with you? Well, this money's going to the 60-year-old children. Guess what they got? 30-year-old children wanting to go into business. So there's a lot of private money and investment groups out there. Did you see what the SBA is now doing and reducing the restrictions on who they're giving loans to?
The only thing I'll tell you, if you buy a business, unless you really, really understand the business and the industry, get outside help. Most major accounting firms have people that will come in and will actually give you a value of the business. The seller normally overvalues the business, I know because I always did. The buyer wants to undervalue the business, and you get into a big negotiating phase. So my suggestion is, and it can be done fairly inexpensive, depending on the dollars involved. Obviously, one of my experiences was one of the businesses I was involved in. I was kind of gotten out of it. We had a president that, we wanted him to sell the business, and he really got into it. Found a business that he wanted to buy. I thought he was doing due diligence. He ended up getting a financial organization to give us $7 million to buy this business for $6 million. The business was bought, found out it had major problems. And basically, it has now destroyed the second business. It's been taken over by the financial firm because if certain numbers weren't met, the firm could take ownership. So now they're trying to turn it back around. But he did not do due diligence. I mean, for $6 million, he should have spent $150,000 doing due diligence on this organization. But he was so afraid. He thought this was such a good business and everything looked so good, and that if he raised too many questions that the owner wouldn't sell it. Oh, I can tell you that owner went to the bank just smiling like crazy because once we got a hold of it, it ended up creating. So, I mean, there are all kinds of outside help. You just have to be careful. And they say buying a business, selling a business, nowadays it's a pretty common thing, and there's money available. You just got to do it right. And there's lots of things that come up. Attorneys need to be involved. Contracts end up being specialized depending on the industry and the people. And anyway, that's another whole.
So we've run over, and we've had some good discussion. Fortunately, you've been able to make comments. Anybody who'd like to stay after and speak with Willis or Ben or myself or Nancy or Ron, feel free to do that. Okay? But otherwise, I hope this has been helpful for you. We have business cards up here.
This is the advisory information that SCORE has available here.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for that was great.
You hope there's more good than ugly.